Rounding up, we have a month to go until the 2025 NFL trade deadline. Dallas is 1-2-1 with an offense ready to win, a defense clearly not. So will they make a trade? 1 for yes, 0 for no. Sound off for me in the comment section of today's video. Now, yesterday, I'll call it, Cowboys Twitter was all abuzz with reports and claims that the Cowboys were trying to trade for Raiders edge rusher Maxx Crosby. There was one that claimed that Maxx Crosby had demanded a trade. I know exactly where this originated from. I will not be outing them. It was literally fake news. In fact, it was intentional fake news. They did it as a joke to just see what would happen. This stuff annoys me, though, because people in the year 2025, society has a tough time identifying what is real and what is fake, because sometimes the things we see we want to be real, so we choose to. Don't get your hopes up here. This is not happening. At least not this right now. At least not in season. You could maybe revisit in a year or so, depending on how things play out. The Raiders just paid Maxx Crosby. He is like the quintessential Raider right now with the way he goes about his business. Everyone wants Maxx Crosby because he's awesome. So why would the Raiders, who are only a half game behind you, by the way, in terms of record, trade him? It doesn't make any sense. It just does not make sense. Madden, yes. Real life, no. And you're also probably giving up what you got back for Micah pretty much, and it's too much for the realisticness. Now, if the Cowboys make a trade, we will have you covered with a video, and we will call out the nonsense as we have to. I'd rather not do it, but it was very popular on social media. So hit that sub button so you don't miss out. Let's move to someone who might actually be available. That is Trey Hendrickson. Many Cowboys fans, I see you guys in the comments all the time, media outlets suggesting it as an idea. And I get it. There is some logic behind this one that maybe doesn't exist in the Maxx Crosby side of things. Hendrickson's contract breaks down as follows. $25.17 is his current cap hit. The Bengals save $16 million. That is the figure the Cowboys would owe. I will make note, all the contract stuff we discuss on today's show is prorated. So it's not quite 16. It's really about $1 million per game. A little bit, obviously, more, but whatever. You know the prorated figure. So let's just call it 10 is what you would end up owing Trey Hendrickson if you were to trade for him. That's doable for a team with tons of cap space. Hendrickson, stuck on a bad Bengals defense, hey, that sounds familiar, remains one of the better pass rushers in football. I do think it is a valid question how much longer he can continue. That he does turn 31 years old this year, but then again, TJ Watt is in a similar age bracket there. The sacks have gone down a little bit, but the pressure rate remains high. This after back-to-back 17-plus sack seasons in his previous 2 years. I think if you wanted to fix your pass rush, I do think Hendrickson, who has been super productive on a bad defense in the past, does do that. And the Bengals are rapidly falling apart. But what is their actual asking price for Trey Hendrickson? If they let him leave in free agency, they'll get a third-round comp pick, we would assume. I think that's a reasonable assumption on the Trey Hendrickson front. Well, you don't have a third-round pick to trade. Does a second and a player move the needle for the Bengals? Very well might. They were asking for more before the season, but that's when they thought they were going to be a Super Bowl contender. Joe Burrow's hurt, maybe not. I think that's reasonable. Cowboys can't draft in the second round on defense anyway. Does that mean they should be trading away a second-round pick? And are they going to pay Hendrickson the $35 whatever million he wants per year? If the answer is no to either of those, I don't think this defense overall, even with Hendrickson, is good enough to justify that price tag as a rental. So what draft pick would you give up for Trey Hendrickson? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. I'm not moving to 1 to 2, depending on what your plan is, can make a bit more sense. I have no 3. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Let's talk Dolphins edge rusher targets. This one has been a popular social media, like Bleacher Report mentioning both guys as trade candidates, I think for good reason. Bradley Chubb and Jaelan Phillips. Chop Robinson, I think, is the long-term young edge rusher Miami is committed to. There are some contractual stuff we'll have to discuss here. The raw stat sheet for Jaelan Phillips. Let's begin here. No sacks. That doesn't look very good. Has gotten pressures, though, which oftentimes indicates, hey, this guy's going to get home soon. that the sacks are going to come. He's got a higher pressure rate than Hendrickson does here. He's got a 16.5 is really, really good figures. But he's been banged up a lot the past 2 years. 12 games played in total. The 1 sack last year. Still searching for a sack this season. 6.5 sacks. Looked like he was on the breakout path in 2023 and then got hurt and hasn't fully stayed healthy. Contractual issues here as well. $13.25 million for the totality of the 2025 campaign. That's the prorated figure. Call it $8 or $9 million. Also going to be a free agent, so what are your long-term plans? What's the contractual cost there? I'm not so sure. Today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. We'll come back to Bradley Chubb in a second. But you and I make decisions every day. But on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it is good to be right. It is the only app that offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. You can pick them all only on Prize Picks. You can also follow other players directly on the app. Copy those lineups in one click. Whether it's a friend, partner, someone whose picks you like, do it all in the new feed tab on Prize Picks. This is my Cowboys-Jets Prize Picks slate as cooked up by producer Aiden. Brandon Aubrey, more than a field goal and a half. The alien. Jake Ferguson, this 24.5 is just so juicy to me because I think he's going to have a solid game. Love the more than there. Justin Fields, more than 40.5 yards on the ground because it's the Cowboys and run defense against QBs. It's always bad. Go download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Let's go to Bradley Chubb, who is putting up the sack numbers. The pressure rate does indicate some underlying concerns there of, is he the same guy he was at his peak with injury concerns and injury issues? He did not play at all in 2024, was healthier in 2023. Go figure, has 11 sacks. Like that certainly is a good sign. Unlike Jaelan Phillips, the contract is a little bit more convoluted. So right now, Chubb is owed $12.33 million on the 2025 cap. The Dolphins would save the prorated figure of $1.2 million. It is the vet minimum. That is all the Cowboys would owe this year. So he's highly affordable. The Dolphins only save $7.5 million next year because they just redid his contract. So the Dolphins do not save very much money-wise by trading away Bradley Chubb. Now, he's on the books next year for $20.23 million, and then 2027 is $23.26. No guaranteed money owed in 2026, 2027. So either he plays well, semi-affordable figure in 2026. Maybe you figure out what the long-term stuff is. It's a decent amount of cash, though. Or he's a rental for super cheap, and you cut him. Now, Sports Illustrated pitched a conditional 5th-round pick for Bradley Chubb. I don't know if that's actually enough for the Dolphins to sign off on a trade, because if they start selling guys like Bradley Chubb, I think that regime is getting fired. But maybe that decision gets made above their heads. I would do that trade. To me, that the worst case outcome there is he's a rental edge for a year to help out my pass rush, and it only cost me a day 3 pick. I don't know if the Dolphins do that. That seems like it's a little bit too team-friendly for the Cowboys side of it, but if that is the cost, and big old asterisks on it, that one does intrigue me. So of the 2 Dolphins edges, pick one to trade for. BC for Bradley Chubb, JP for Jaelan Phillips. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Now, FanSided and some others have pushed the Cowboys trading for Greg Newsome, the young corner, for now at least, out of Northwestern. And I get the general interest in the cornerback room because, issues here. You're going to get Kalen Carson back at some point soon. I think at some point Savone Revel returns. I just don't have a date for when on that front. But Deron Bland has been banged up and had a great game against the Eagles and then, not so good against the Packers. Diggs was good week 1, week 4, and a disaster class in week 2 and 3. Elam has been, I think, relative to trade day expectations, okay. Relative to training camp expectations, not very good. Reddy Stewart's fine as a nickel. I like Greg Newsome. I think he's a good player. Hasn't been as good at times this year. A little bit high on some of the completion rate stuff. But the Browns also ask a lot of their corners. Like, they'll put them in man coverage scenarios, which are you going to do it with Matt Eberflus? That's the question on the Newsome front. Has missed time pretty much every year of his career, too. Like, this is not somebody who is out there every single game. He misses 2, 3, 4, 5 games, it feels like, every single season. And like all these other players we're discussing, at least some of them, contractual issues here. Going to be a free agent, $13.38 million. I think if you're trading for someone like Greg Newsome, you probably view them as more than a one-year player. I don't know if the Cowboys would trade for Greg Newsome, pay him all that cash, and then extend him, even though I think you're going to move on from Trayvon Diggs. So I would wonder if the Cowboys, because they've invested in Savone Rebel, they think he can be a piece long-term, I wonder if they're going to try to play the waiting game at corner and maybe focus on edge instead.